We're here to give up follow-up information on yesterday's shooting incident that ended in the death of one suspect, 30-year-old female, or approximately 30-year-old female, and a young man we now know is Cameron Prescott, 6 years of age. This initial call came in, as you all know, in the 11,200 block of FM 1518 for a report of a stolen vehicle and a known suspect in the theft of that vehicle that was also wanted on 2 felony warrants. When the deputy initially made contact with that suspect inside that trailer, we know that from now having reviewed the statements of the officers from last night and watching several videos from last night, we now know that the deputy identified what he believes was a weapon in the hands of that suspect, and she actually, on several occasions in that first initial encounter and subsequent encounters, physically threatened him with that weapon and verbalized to him that she intended to shoot him with that weapon. That deputy lost sight of the suspect a couple of times. She made it down into this wooded area here, at one point actually crossing the creek. And as you can see, this is a span of distance between the two crime scenes. This was the initial place of contact on FM 1518. This is where we ended up. Here we're looking at about 3/4 of a mile linear, but we don't believe that she took a linear path. There was a winding path through some pretty treacherous territory over the span of a couple of hours, is what we know now. At any rate, the deputy lost sight of the suspect shortly after that initial encounter. And the next time that deputies were able to see that suspect was about a couple of hours later, maybe 2 hours later. She popped up back in this area of the trailer park, is what we believe, where 2 additional deputies made contact with her. They actually saw her. Those 2 deputies also report, having read their statements, they also report being physically threatened with a handgun, and as well as the suspect again verbalizing to them that she was going to shoot them with that weapon. Those deputies then also lost sight of the suspect as she continued on her way in a meandering path through the trailer park area, where we know that several civilian witnesses made contact with the suspect. Some just report having seen her walking after she had shed some clothes that she was wearing. At least 2 of those civilians report that they were somewhat threatened by this suspect. She made some indications that she was physically carrying a weapon and also verbally threatened bodily harm to both of those civilian witnesses. The next time that deputies saw the suspect in the case was on the front porch of the trailer where the shooting actually occurred. What we now know that happened in the moments directly right before the shooting was that this suspect forced her way into the home that the incident took place at. She physically forced her way into the home. That home had an adult in it, a minor female, and of course 6-year-old Cameron, who we also know was in the home. While she was in the home, the civilian witnesses inside the home report that she was holding an object in her hand that may have been a weapon. She also made threats to them and also was going to take their vehicle from them. They do not know this suspect at this point. We don't believe there's any prior relationship between these folks, other than she forced her way into their house and was intending to steal their vehicle. As the civilian witnesses report that as that suspect exited the home again, she confronted someone on the front porch. We now know that somebody was the officers that were approaching. The civilian witnesses report that they could hear her physically threaten to shoot the people that were outside. Again, we know them to be the deputies that were making contact with her. She verbalized to them that she was going to shoot them. Those 4 deputies are the deputies that were involved in the shooting. Those deputies all report in their statements that she was holding an object in her hand. They believed it to be a weapon at the time. As we all know, there was no weapon found at the scene, but what we were able to find after the fact was the deck where she fell was a raised deck, probably 3 feet off the ground. It was somewhat attached to the house, but there was a gap between the deck and the trailer. We found a tubular object underneath that deck that had the suspect's blood on it, but additionally mud And we believe now that that object was very well what the deputies saw, also what the civilian witnesses saw, and all of them perceived to be a weapon of some sort, a handgun of some sort. The scene is still actively being searched. As you can see, we've got a large wooded area, a couple of different bodies of water, a landfill. This actually goes into Guadalupe County. Portions of this, what you see, are Guadalupe County, and portions of it are Bexar County. We are still in the area actively searching. People that live in the area may actually still see a helicopter above. We've got a helicopter still out there trying to help us locate what we still believe to be a handgun, possibly somewhere in this wooded area or in one of these bodies of water. In addition, we've been in contact with a dive team who we hope to have helping us search the area as well as conditions permit us to do. So at this point, that is the latest update that we have on this case. I'll open it up to whatever questions you might have.
Do you have the names of the officers, the deputies involved?
We do, and we'll be able to release those to you here shortly after the press conference.
How many are involved?
4 deputies actually fired shots. 5 deputies were on scene. One of them was a canine deputy who had his canine tethered by the leash at the time.
Sheriff, can you talk about that first contact with the suspect? She was in a closet?
She was in a closet.
How did she get out of that situation?
Well, she made a threat to the deputy. The deputy created distance. He absolutely did the right thing. He created distance and backed off. The next time he reports having seen her was for a very brief instant where she physically threatened him with the handgun on her way out the residence. The next time he saw her, it looked like she had tumbled down a ravine right here, and he was probably 40 to 50 feet above and behind her. She turned and gestured to him with the weapon one more time on her way into the woods.
When you say tubular object, what kind of object is this?
Well, at this point, we're thinking handgun. That deputy is still adamant that what he saw was a handgun. The tubular object is some sort of a dark-colored pipe that very well could look like a gun barrel.
You said you saw video of this?
Yes, ma'am.
In the video, can you see whether or not it's a handgun?
No, that can't be seen.
What kind of video do you have?
We have 2 types of video. We've got video from the helicopter overhead, and the helicopter doesn't really capture the moment that she was pointing the object at the officers. What it captures is the immediate aftermath of that, right after the shooting, and you see the suspect actually down on the front porch from above. The other video that we have is actually a body camera that was on one of the deputies that was involved in the shooting. Unfortunately, it captures good audio and it captures a lot of good video, but at the moment of the shooting, the deputy was wearing the body camera on his left chest. He's a left-handed deputy that was firing a rifle. So what you see a lot of is the rifle as that shooting is occurring, but the audio in it is very good audio, high quality.
Can you tell us the suspect's name?
I'm not able to release it at this point. My understanding is, well, we don't have positive ID on that suspect yet, and so
the family is saying.
I understand, but from us, I don't have that clearance to release that name yet. We just checked, and we don't have the authorization from the ME's office to release it.
What's the circumference area that you guys are searching?
Well, the circumference, I guess, is it. Right here, you're looking at 3/4 of a mile, and then I would imagine we're going at least a half mile in either direction. So it's a huge crime scene, again, that straddles 2 counties.
Your policy talks about, it cautions deputies using deadly force when bystanders are around. This sounds like a really difficult situation. Can you talk about whether this incident complied with y'all's policy and what you think with it?
Preliminarily, I can tell you that it appears as if policies were complied with. You know, what we're dealing with at this point is what it appears, and of course I don't have final say on this. The ME's got some things to say about it, and so does the DA. They'll make the final ruling on a lot of these things. Right now, what I'm dealing with is a tragic accident. That's in my opinion, it's a tragic accident that led to the death of this young man. And so, you know, we are looking into all of it. Internal Affairs is still investigating it. But again, preliminarily, it appears that policies and procedures were complied with.
¿Qué es lo que va a pasar con los oficiales?
Los oficiales han sido puestos en trabajos administrativos. No, ahorita no están trabajando por 5 días en administrative duty. y después de eso van a ser puestos en trabajos administrativos.
¿Usted cree entonces que sus oficiales actuaron conforme al protocolo que se debe seguir?
Hasta ahorita es lo que sabemos. Se aparenta que los oficiales estuvieron dentro de nuestras reglas de su trabajo.
¿Puede explicar en español?
I have. My father is a friend of mine for the past 20 years. He's a peace officer. I've actually spoken to him and conveyed messages to the family through him.
¿Ustedes apoyarían a la familia en alguna forma en caso de que necesiten para el funeral o para servicios?
Bueno, sabemos que alguien está trabajando con la familia. Hasta ahorita, gente de nuestra comunidad han estado hablando aquí a preguntar cómo se puede ayudar si ellos quieren mandarles dinero a la familia para ayudar con los costos del funeral. Nosotros ya sabemos la persona que les está ayudando, entonces les dimos ese número. I'll give you this information in English. Les dimos esa información a la persona que les está ayudando a la familia. The question was if we're able to help the family out. We have been getting, through our public information office, requests from the public that have indicated they want to help with funeral expenses for the young man. We do know the person that is assisting the family with making the arrangements, and so we put anybody that's coming in contact with us, we're putting them in contact with this person that's helping them out with the funeral arrangements.
In the interest of transparency, sometimes in officer-involved shootings, there's another agency. Has there been any thought at all about asking the Rangers to take a second look at this or anything? Are you asking anybody else to look at this?
The DA's office, from the early morning, or from the very early moments after the shooting, I was on scene and I was actually in contact with the district attorney and the chief investigator from the DA's office. So they are looking at it. I certainly wouldn't be averse to any other agency wanting to look at it. In fact, I had a phone call with Christopher Combs, the special agent in charge of the FBI here locally, just to run the situation past him. I've got a good working relationship with the local field office of the FBI. He didn't indicate any concerns early on, but again, I wouldn't be opposed to any outside agency looking at it if they wanted to.
So the 4 deputies are on administrative leave?
They're on administrative leave right now for 5 days, and then
not the fifth canine.
No, he didn't fire his weapon. Now I can't tell you if any other deputies felt like they were affected by this and they needed some time off. I certainly wouldn't be averse to giving them any time off. But so far, it's just the deputies that were involved in accordance with protocol, with our policies. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any dash cam video or anything of any other portion of the chase when they may have seen her running away?
I don't believe we have any dash cam footage right now. What we have is the body camera footage from the one deputy that was wearing it.
Will you be releasing that?
At some point we will. But it's of course up to other agencies now at this point, the DA's office for one.
What sort of clearance do deputies need before they go back on after the administrative leave?
Well, certainly one of the things that we're doing is we are consulting with a police psychologist. We don't have one on staff here. So what we're utilizing is actually SAPD's police psychologist. That it's pretty standard practice, or at least it will be standard practice here at the Sheriff's Office, that we will have any officer involved in any sort of situation like this speak to a police psychologist. We just recently had another officer-involved shooting, and that's where I started that new protocol that we will make sure and make sure that they're cleared. Additionally, we'll make sure that the DA's office has no issues with them being cut back to regular duty when the time comes.
How are the officers and your staff doing psychologically with regards to having shot a 6-year-old?
Well, I can tell you, having spoken to the officers yesterday, I spoke to them very briefly. They were pretty upset, understandably so. In my 25 years, I've been involved in many situations involving officer-involved shootings, and all I could do was go up and show them the bit of compassion that I could as a fellow officer. I went up, I gave each one of them a hug. I told them I was glad they were okay, and we would make sure that they were attended to. Then we placed them with family assistance officers, and they were brought down to CID to give their statements. I wasn't privy to those statements till this morning, but the deputies are, of course, understandably shaken up from this whole incident. Officer-involved shootings are traumatic enough. Add to this one the death of an innocent 6-year-old, and it's that much more troubling.
Just to be clear, the 4 officers saw what they believe was a handgun.
Correct.
And what you found was?
What we found was a dark tube that we, I would say it's probably about 8 inches long, dark colored, and it was located under the deck, directly under the suspect.
But it's not a gun.
It is not a gun. No, it's not a gun.
And is that the same items that Cameron's family members saw?
We believe so. We believe so.
You said one deputy had a body cam and he was left-handed. Why? What was with the other deputies? They didn't have body cams?
Well, as you may know, we still haven't fielded all the body cameras that we have. Part of our ongoing program, when I took over the sheriff's office, our body camera program wasn't quite as robust as I would like it to have been, so we started inquiring why we didn't have more cameras out. Well, we weren't set up for that. The current system that we had been using was not sufficient to the backside of it was not robust enough to hold more cameras. So we made the decision to start testing another camera system, similar, the actual system that SAPD is using. That camera brand, Axon, was actually the one being worn by the deputy at the scene there yesterday.
One more question.
Solo puede repetir en español, ¿qué es lo que se alcanza a escuchar y a ver en ese video que lo hace pensar que sus oficiales hicieron lo correcto?
No lo entiendo.
O sea, ¿qué es lo que dice que se ve la cámara corporal?
El oficial tenía la cámara puesta en la izquierda, en el lado izquierdo, en la bolsa de la camisa. El oficial tenía un rifle que estaba usando y el oficial usa la mano de izquierda. Entonces, cuando puso el rifle para arriba, tapó la cámara un poco. Entonces, todo lo que se enseña al momento de disparar es el rifle que estaba usando el oficial.
¿Por qué piensa que ese tubo que encontraron en el lodo pudiera ser utilizado por la sospechosa?
Porque no nomás fueron los oficiales que lo vieron, pero dos testigos civiles dentro de la casa, y ellos no estaban al mismo lado de la puerta de los oficiales. Entonces, ellos vieron algo, los oficiales también vieron algo, no encontramos pistola. El único objeto que estaba allí, el único artículo que estaba allí que podía haber sido una pistola o parecido a una pistola fue el artículo que encontramos. El artículo también tenía la sangre de la sospechosa en el artículo.
Did deputies try to check to see if there's anybody inside the house?
They did. They physically cleared the house. That is actually when they found Cameron had been shot.
Before
They continued to clear the house as one deputy ran outside the house with Cameron. I'll be honest with you, it's a pretty heartbreaking video for us to see. You see the deputies administering first aid to the little boy almost immediately upon getting him away from the scene, away from the line of fire if there were a second gunman, for example. Other deputies went on to clear the house while they administered first aid and got EMS on scene.
Before the shooting, did they know there were people inside?
Before the shooting, I don't believe the deputies did.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.